Are we sure he isn't dead? Coco's voice echoed, laced with a morbid curiosity. Dude, he isn't dead. He's just passed out? Okay, he might be dead. Ellie responded, her usual confidence wavering. Winona sighed. Why do you two always claim the weirdest of things? The tension was broken by a wet, slobbery sound. Toby, the chunky little pooch, had taken it upon himself to investigate. Slowly, almost reluctantly, Voyd's eyes cracked open. His vision swam, resolving into a blurry landscape of fur and a wet nose. Toby's affection was the first thing he registered. Two dark, dopey eyes staring back at him with unbridled enthusiasm. He flinched, startled, and pushed himself up, taking in his surroundings. He was in a bedroom. Two windows offered a sliver of daylight. Two beds dominated the space, one a cheerful orange he sat upon, the other bare and untouched. Photo frames dotted the walls, interspersed with a guitar hanging like a silent sentinel. A nightstand and desk lamp cast a soft glow on the wooden floor. And then there were the girls. Coco, Ellie, and Winona, their faces etched with a mixture of surprise and apprehension. Well, good morning, sir. Ellie said, the words hanging in the air, thick with unspoken questions. A tense silence descended. What the? Voyd cried, jolting upright with the force of a coiled spring. Toby, caught off guard, tumbled off him and landed on the floor with a soft squeak, his tail still wagging furiously. The girls gasped. Voyd, fueled by adrenaline, rolled off the bed, landing hard on the wooden floor. Ugh! He gasped, momentarily winded. Panic simmered beneath his confusion, and he scrambled to his feet. Whoa, easy there, blue boy. We aren't gonna hurt ya. Coco said nervously, taking a few steps back, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. Like a cornered animal, Voyd recoiled, slamming his back into the nightstand. He scrambled across the floor, putting as much distance between himself and the girls as possible. Who are you? Where am I? He demanded, raising his arms defensively. He then realized something was amiss. His armor pieces were gone. He was only wearing his sweater, pants, and socks. His bag, gloves, shoulder pads, and arm braces, they were all missing. Where's my stuff? He cried, pressing his back against the wall further, his eyes darting around the unfamiliar room. The last thing he remembered was meeting Jaida, then nothing. Dude, chill. We aren't gonna... Ellie started to say, but Voyd was already moving, scrambling out of the room and into a narrow hallway. Wait! Winona called, reaching out a hand, but Voyd was already gone. He whirled around, taking in the hallway's interior. Photos of people he didn't recognize, peeling paint, and dust motes dancing in the faint light. Jet? He asked, his voice trembling, searching for his helmet. Scrap and heap, where? Ah! He gasped, tripping over a step he hadn't seen in his confused state. He tumbled down a flight of stairs, each impact jarring him to his core. The little spark hit each step hard and fast, before landing firmly at the bottom, shaking the building he had unknowingly found himself within. Ugh! God! Ow! He yelped, pushing himself to his feet, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He blundered through another hallway, desperate to escape, and stumbled into a kitchen. He froze. 3 more figures stood there, looking equally startled. Oh, pieces! Na cried, leaping back from the counter. Kot and Jamie stood up abruptly from their stools. Oh my god! Jamie shouted, her eyes wide with astonishment. Kot simply stared, his expression unreadable. Voyd didn't even have time to register what he was staring at. That 2 of the people in the room were the ones he had saved the other night. He simply whirled around and bolted again. Blue alien on the loose! Repeat, blue alien on the loose! Ellie bellowed as she and the other girls came thundering down the stairs. Voyd burst into the front desk area of Nox Motorcrafts, sending papers flying. He lurched towards the garage entrance in a chaotic jumble of spare parts and tools. He stumbled, his momentum sending him sprawling across the floor until his back slammed against the large metal door of the giant room. He rolled around, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The 6 figures from the house scrambled into the room, their eyes wide and nervous, mirroring his own fear. "Who are you people? Why am I here?" Voyd demanded, his voice cracking with desperation. He instinctively summoned 2 shimmering Nova runes, sparks of raw energy crackling around his hands. "Hey, it's okay. We're not gonna hurt you. Just please put the shiny rings of death down," Winona pleaded, her voice laced with fear, her hands moving in a slow downwards motion. "Breathe, buddy. You're gonna be alright. We ain't gonna hurt you," Kot said nervously, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. Then, a voice cut through the rising panic. A voice Voyd recognized. "What are you guys doing?" Looking up, Voyd saw Jaida standing in the doorway of what looked like a downstairs area within the workshop. She was back in her familiar attire, and cradled his mom's helmet, Jet, in her arms. The others turned their heads as well, their attention shifting to Jaida, who stood there like a beacon of calm in Voyd's turbulent world. "You're scaring him," she said, her gaze locking on the Voyd's.
"Ah, hello, my friend. I see you've met the others,"
Jet called out cheerfully, but Voyd just stared, looking like a cornered puppy. Gently, Jaida handed the helmet to Ellie and slowly approached the anxious Spark. Hey, it's okay. These guys aren't gonna hurt you. They're my friends," Jaida said, crouching down before Voyd, her face etched with a gentle, reassuring smile. "They helped me get you here. This is my home. You're safe. You're okay," she assured, waddling closer. "There's no need to be afraid." Voyd looked Jaida up and down, then at the others, who were slowly approaching as well. Hesitantly, Jaida reached out a hand, gesturing for Voyd to take it. After a moment of internal debate, he did. She hoisted him to his feet at a slow, steady pace. "There you go. Sorry for the scare," Jaida apologized, glancing back at the others, who all shared nervous glances. Jaida, right?" Voyd asked, feeling awkward and out of place. "Yep. I was hoping to take the introduction slow, but I guess I should just introduce everyone now," Jaida said, gesturing towards her companions. "These 3 girls are my best friends. Winona Specs, Ellie Sankson, and Coco Ito," Jaida began, nodding to each of her friends. "Hi there," Winona said with a small wave. "Howdy," Coco called, her smile a little strained. "What's up?" Ellie finished, her usual bravado slightly subdued. Voyd simply nodded, trying to process the onslaught of new faces and information. "And these 3 are my family, basically. This is my older cousin, Nock Rogers," Jaida said, gesturing towards a small mechanic. Nock nervously adjusted his glasses and nodded his head in acknowledgement. "And I'm sure you might recognize these 2, Kot and Jamie Rivers," Jaida finished, gesturing towards the siblings. Voyd locked eyes with Kot and Jamie, who looked incredibly grateful. The memory of the bridge flooded back, and he realized who they were. You're that knight that saved our lives," Jamie said, clutching her clawed metal hand to her chest. "Voyd, was it?" Kot asked, prompting a nervous nod from the small Spark. "Thanks, little dude." Voyd bit the inside of his cheek, glancing around the workshop, feeling strangely vulnerable and exposed. For someone who fought the unimaginable, interactions such as this were just uncomfortable for him. He looked down at his attire and then asked, "My armor, my items, where are they?" Jaida nodded. "Oh, right. Well, your bag, shoes, and gloves, all that junk, it's by the front door. So is your armor. We figured you'd be uncomfortable sleeping in them, so we just took them off." Voyd nodded slowly, as all eyes remained fixed on him. He didn't know what to say or what to do. He wasn't used to this kind of thing. Could we get you something to eat, love?" Jamie asked, making Voyd perk up ever so slightly. The aroma of spaghetti hung heavy in the air of Nock's combined kitchen and living room. Voyd, perched precariously on the edge of a worn couch, devoured his meal, a bowl of spaghetti with a speed that would make any normal soul's stomach upset. Around him, the others watched, a mixture of fascination and concern etched on their faces. He finished the bowl in what felt like mere seconds, then drained a glass of water, the clinking of the glass the only sound in the room. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice rough around the edges, as he began to lick the remaining sauce from the empty bowl. Nock, astonished by the spark's appetite, handed him a napkin. Of course. When's the last time you had a decent meal?" Voyd paused, his hands still hovering over the bowl. He seemed to be searching through a fog of memory. Pancakes. Long ago," he finally said, his voice flat and weary. "Besides that, dumpster food's been on and off." A collective silence descended upon the room. Ellie raised an eyebrow, her expression disbelieving. "Dumpster food?" Voyd stared down at the empty bowl, refusing to meet anyone's gaze.
Aye,
Jack confirmed, resting atop the living room counter, his voice laced with a weary understanding, while small little wheels were now emerged from the helmet's underhalf, allowing him to roll freely, his face displayed on the visor screen.
Unfortunately so.
Jaida rose slowly, approaching Voyd with a tentative step. She sat beside him, her gaze both nervous and compassionate. "Voyd, I don't want to be intrusive or make you feel any more uncomfortable, but we need to know." She met his eyes, her own filled with a gentle urgency. "What exactly are you? And what were those things?" Voyd froze, his body still, his mind seemingly lost in a labyrinth of thought. He looked down at his bag, which she had brought with him. For a long moment, he wrestled with the decision to speak. His hand, to everyone's growing concern, began to tremble. "Voyd?" Winona asked softly, her voice laced with worry. Voyd shook his head, struggling to regain control of his hand. He sighed, a weary sound that felt to carry the weight of several years. I'm a spark, a being from the matter realm," he began, his words drawing everyone's attention, piquing their curiosity. "Those things, those monsters, they are the glitched." He reached into his bag and carefully extracted his family's faded photograph, holding it as if it were a priceless artifact. They destroyed my world." Silence hung heavy in the room, broken only by the faint hum of the tapping of falling leaves hitting the window. Wait, pause. What? Coco asked, her voice barely a whisper. Voyd held still for a long time, agonizingly in the moment. My homeworld, Salvaheim. It was once a beautiful place, home to my people. Many of us were warriors, guardians that protected the realms, the key components that make up the universe, if you didn't know that. He gently handed the photo to Jaida. The glitched, as far as Jet and I know, are a race of beings that aren't native to this universe. If I recall, my people fought them long ago and trapped them within a sector called the Banished Realm. Then one day, 5 or maybe 6 years ago now, they broke free and... Voyd paused, his eyes straining, reliving the memory. My family. They sent me through a getaway portal here, in this sector of the universe called the Mortal Realm. They said others would find me, but that never happened. He stared blankly, his gaze piercing through those who looked at him. I've been on my own since then, fighting and jumping between worlds, trying to stop the glitched. To stop him. Jaida eyed him as everyone passed the photo around, her brow furrowed with concern. Him? She asked. Suddenly, Jet projected a holographic image in the center of the room. It depicted a crystalline figure radiating malevolent energy. The Red Death. Voyd muttered, his voice barely audible. Lotus. Everyone's eyes widened, a mixture of shock and awe reflected in their faces as they stared at the terrifying being. Jet began to speak, giving Voyd a moment to compose himself.
After Voyd and I realized that no help was coming, he made a vow to find a way to reach Lotus. You see, his empire isn't native to this universe. They came from a place beyond the reaches of our own world. They are an invasive species, one not native to this universe. Wherever they go, their presence alone is enough to destabilize a planet.
Jet changed the hologram, displaying a map of interconnected realms.
These beasts are attacking tons of worlds within all the realms, and we are trying to reach Lotus to stop the carnage once and for all.
Jet revealed, showing off holograms of all kinds of glitches.
However, we have, unfortunately, been trapped here in the Mortal Realm, without any means to reach the next realm and the realm after. With every world we go to protect, we have been searching for a way to reach the next realm, the Cosmic Realm, to climb the ladder to the Banished Realm. For that is where Lotus resides.
The room was filled with stunned silence. Whoa! So, this circle here, this is us? Winona asked, pointing to the Mortal Realm on the projection. And all these other things are what make up everything we know? She asked, pulling out a little journal to write in. Space, dreams, afterlife, and matter? She continued, listing off the cosmic, dream, spectral, under, and matter realms, while eyeing the banished one above. And these glitch creatures are destroying planets why? Jamie asked, perplexed.
Most of the history has been lost from old texts, but Lotus is trying to destroy everything, to give him and his people their own universe to exist in. He is angry at the idea that he and his kind are unable to live like everything else, so he has made it his life's mission to wipe the slate clean, to make our universe his own.
Jet explained on, making Nox sigh and lean back in his seat, feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so let me get this straight. This guy is in the Banished Realm. But you have portals and junk, right? What's stopping you from, portaling your way to that place? Coco asked. Voyd took a deep breath. My portal device is a rough build. It was made from the bare knowledge I had regarding the technology of my world. Because it was made from this realm's technology in particular, it's only got the data to every world in this sector of the universe. Voyd revealed somberly. The only way I'll be able to reach the next realm is if I find a source of power that can detect said realm's energy signature. Think of it like a battery or conduit. But because of how simple the mortal realm is in design, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Voyd paused, looking defeated. Originally, I thought my own essence would be enough to get me back to the matter realm. But I'm just a kid. My energy isn't strong enough or fully developed. So I've been aimlessly stopping the glitch in this realm, and I've been on a wild goose chase to find a way to reach the cosmic realm since. Voyd pinched the skin between his eyes. Wait, how old are you exactly? Kot asked. 15, I think. I've been doing this since I was 10. Voyd replied, making the room gasp. 10? What? You're just a little boy! Jamie exclaimed as Jaida's friends looked on in disbelief. You're our age, dude! Why would you put yourself through this? All on your own? Winona asked, raising a hand to her mouth in shock. Voyd paused, thinking deeply. Jaida turned to fully face him as she handed back the photo. Because it was the only thing for me to do. Voyd said, meeting everyone's gazes as he took the photo back. As you all said, I'm an alien. There was no chance for me having a normal life anywhere else. My family's gone. The only thing I felt I could do was try and make this right, to stop those things before someone else. Voyd paused again, with silent tears welling in his eyes. Before someone else ended up like me. Jaida gently reached out and placed a hand on Voyd's shoulder, a stern look flaring in her eyes. Hey, it's okay. Don't cry. She tried to assure him, but Voyd had already dropped his head into his hands, shoulders shaking. I'm sorry. I'm a mess. I never said this to anyone before. Voyd admitted, his body trembling. It's just been so long since anybody actually talked to me, fed me, listened to me. He listed, as his horns gently pulsed a sad blue shine, mesmerizing everyone in the room. Oh, sweetheart, Jamie exclaimed, getting up and kneeling beside Voyd. There. It's okay. She insisted, prompting Winona to rush forwards too. Yeah, don't feel sorry. We can only imagine what you must be going through. She assured him as the others looked on in sad but terrified silence. Kot scratched his forehead, the gesture more akin to a full hand drag across his brow. Universe-destroying monsters. That was not on my 20XX bucket list. No, sir. The absurdity of it all was starting to weigh on him, a heavy cloak of disbelief settling over his shoulders. Ellie echoed his sentiment, rubbing the back of her neck with a weary sigh. So, not only are we in a room with a mentally broken alien, We just got a glimpse at the secrets of how our universe works, and there's apparently rampaging monsters wreaking havoc across all of existence as we speak. Talk about a way to end a Saturday. Coco huffed, a small sound of exasperation escaping her lips. Well, when you put it like that? Her voice trailed off, searching for a counterpoint, a way to lessen the impact of the overwhelming information, but coming up empty-handed. Slowly, Voyd lifted his head. The radiant blue glow of his eyes, usually a sign of his power, was now dimmed by the glistening trails of tears staining his face. He looked towards Jaida, and a pang resonated within her. This unassuming being, burdened by a weight no one should have to carry. It was breaking her heart. Tears didn't fall, but they welled in the corners of her eyes, mirroring his pain. Then, knock, always the unexpected one it would seem, surprised everyone. Hey, kid, if you need a place to rest, to wind down, to relax, you can stay here if you want. Voyd's head dipped slightly. No, I shouldn't. You only just met me. It's not right. Even in the face of what he'd revealed, even with the universe teetering on the brink of destruction, his humble nature shone through. Knock, however, wouldn't let it go. No, you saved my family, Voyd. Twice. I've seen the news, the bridge, helping my cousin earlier today with whatever the hell just happened. And now learning all of this? Please, just stay. Jaida, emboldened by Nock's words, jumped in. I have a spare bed upstairs in my room. You can use that tonight. She punctuated her offer with a thumbs up, trying to inject some levity into the heavy atmosphere. Cod, ever the jovial one, clapped Voyd on the shoulder. Carefully. I've got extra clothes you can borrow, kiddo. All blue and dark. It'll match your colors. Jamie then chimed in, gently tugging on Voyd's old sweater. I can wash these old ones, love. You can use the bathroom in Jaida's room and get yourself cleaned up. Voyd was stunned. He met each of their gazes, one by one, the blue light in his eyes flickering with a mixture of disbelief and surprise. Why? He muttered, his voice barely above a whisper, as Toby waddled up to him and rested his head on Voyd's lap. Why are you all being so nice to me? Jaida knelt beside Voyd, her small hand gently resting on his. Because when our family sees someone in need, we always do what we can to help. It's a thing my mom used to say. She touched the blue guitar pick she wore around her neck, a tangible reminder of her mother's unwavering compassion. Voyd fell silent again, not out of fear this time, but out of profound shock. His face flushed a darker shade of blue, and he looked from Jaida to her friends, and then the Knock, Cot, Jamie, and even little Toby, all radiating an unexpected, almost overwhelming kindness. Complete strangers, offering him solace and acceptance. Thank you, Voyd whispered, the words choked with emotion. The sun began to fully set below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a stark contrast to the looming darkness threatening the very fabric of existence. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Voyd felt a flicker of warmth in the face of cosmic horror. Voyd emerged from the bathroom, a breath of clean air filling his lungs. The synthetic flesh of his body was now gleaming with cleanliness. He felt revitalized. donned in a brand new, simple blue t-shirt and black shorts, he felt a sense of normalcy he hadn't experienced in a long time. He found Jaida in her room, making his bed, her usual attire replaced with red shorts and a black t-shirt and blazoned with a cartoon punk rock icon, a literal rock with a face and mohawk wielding a microphone. "Hey, looking fresh. I'm sure that must feel amazing." Jaida greeted him with a warm smile as Voyd cautiously entered her space. He took in the surroundings, his eyes wide with curiosity. "It does feel nice. There's no amount of thanks I can give to say how appreciative I am for all of this," Voyd said, settling on the edge of the bed, the covers puffing up around him. "Dude, after all you've been through, I'd say it's more than deserved. Are people on other worlds really that harsh?" Jaida asked, sitting across from him on her own bed. Voyd's silence spoke volumes. He looked away, prompting Jaida to apologize. "Sorry." His gaze drifted around the room, examining the walls, the ceiling, the details of a life so different from his own. His eyes then landed on a sharp red guitar mounted on the wall, sparking his curiosity. "Do you play instruments?" he asked. I used to. That guitar belonged to my father," Jaida revealed, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "He and my mom were musicians. However, I found my passion in art more so than music." "I see," Voyd replied, looking down. A moment of comfortable silence settled between them. "Is it okay if I ask something?" Jaida inquired. "Yeah," Voyd answered. "So, are you like a robot?" Jaida questioned, raising an eyebrow. "What?" Voyd asked back, surprised. "Your arms and legs, they're shinier than your head, and they have, like, pointed segments?" Voyd perked. "Oh, no. I'm not a robot. You see, when sparks are born, we're all just heads," Voyd explained, pointing to himself. "Moments after we enter the world, we're attached to biotechnology, grayed out bodies that our heads attach and evolve into. On the exterior, it's no different than skin like yours, but under pressure, it hardens like steel. Beneath it are all my organs, bones, and the like, evolved from, I guess, what you would call my lower head." Jaida's eyes widened. "Fascinating. That's really cool, actually," Jaida exclaimed, tilting her head in genuine interest. Voyd simply nodded, his expression still guarded. "Are your friends still here?" Voyd asked, changing the subject. "Yeah, they're downstairs. Normally they'd be up here with me, but they didn't want to overwhelm you again. They kind of feel bad for scaring you," Jaida replied. "Ah, I see. Is Jet still with them?" Voyd continued on. "Yeah. While you were washing up, he said something about wanting to learn more about our world. Winona gladly accepted to give him some more answers." Voyd nodded once more, his gaze distant. He then slowly laid back on the bed, staring up at the ceiling that had been adorned with glow-in-the-dark star stickers. The soft light from the nightstand lamp illuminated half the stars in darkness, causing them to shimmer green. "Do you like my starlights? I love outer space," Jaida asked, lying down on her own bed and joining him in gazing upwards. "Yeah," Voyd replied. "They kind of remind me of home." His words were soft, gentle. "Salvaheim, right?" Jaida inquired. "Yeah." skies were so beautiful. They were an ever-changing sea of colors and stars. Very rarely does a world have such a wonderful sky. Voyd admitted, finding the bed surprisingly comfortable. It sounds pretty. What else was Salvaheim like, if you don't mind me asking? Jaida added, as Toby hopped up and settled by her legs. Voyd paused, gathering his thoughts. It was peaceful. Everyone seemed to know everyone. Voyd said, reaching into his bag at his bedside and pulling out his worn teddy bear, a gesture that evoked compassion in Jaida. Me and my family lived in a beautiful kingdom, one where the buildings would shift, where nature coexisted with metal, one where everyone was happy. Voyd paused, gently squeezing his teddy bear. It softly emitted the pre-recorded voice, the voice from his past.
I love you, Voyd.
Jaida's face softened with a sigh. She didn't need to ask who it was. She could piece it together. If there's any place one would call heaven, it would have been Salvaheim. He finished, holding his teddy close and looking up at the ceiling again. Those monsters really took everything? Jaida asked, turning her head back to the ceiling. Everything. Voyd repeated, squeezing his plush. You said something about a tear before you passed out. What do you mean by that? Jaida inquired on. When a glitch enters a world through the Banished Realm, they leave behind a tear. If the tear remains open for more than 48 hours, then the world will become enthralled in Lotus's influence. It'll start disassembling itself, and his army would all be able to find it and tear it apart within moments. Thankfully, if you're wondering, the tear in this world should be sealed by the defeat of those beasts. Voyd explained, his eyes feeling heavy. Thanks again for the help, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Thanks for getting here on time, Jaida replied, reaching over to turn off the light. Say, how about we go around town tomorrow, to clear your head a bit? You know, have a bit of fun, Jaida offered, making Voyd slowly turn towards her. Fun? I would love that, but... Voyd slowly stalled. What will people do if they see me? Every other world I visited, they all freaked out. They panicked. It's why I was such a nervous wreck earlier. Jaida smiled gently. To be honest, Voyd, you look rather similar to some of the folks that already live in this world. I don't think the people would bat that much of an eye. You kind of look like someone called a bullhorn. Voyd gently nodded and felt relieved to this. He glanced at Jaida and then he looked back up, sighing. I'll take your word for it, he muttered. You know, for someone who is so steadfast and determined fighting a giant monster, I'm really surprised you're this nervous when it comes to people, Jaida mentioned as Voyd continued staring. It's because while my mask is on, I feel free, I guess. But when it's off, it's a whole different story. It's kind of funny now that you mention it. Voyd said, making Jaida gently smile. Yeah. Alright, well, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask or wake me up. You're our guest here. whether you want to believe that or not. You are now welcomed. With that, Jaida turned off the light, leaving only her hair and the stars above shimmering. Rest well, Voyd. I'll make us pancakes tomorrow, yeah? How's that sound? Jaida asked, making Voyd slightly, ever so slightly, smile. That'd be nice, he said before closing his eyes. A flicker of hope ignited within him as he began to drift off to sleep. He was still lost, still grieving, but perhaps, just perhaps, he had found a safe haven. A place where he could begin to perhaps... Voyd's eyelids fluttered open before he could even finish that thought. A silver of dawn crept in through the gaps in the segmented blinds. He felt remarkably rested, a luxury he hadn't experienced in what felt like an eternity. He slowly sat up, his gaze immediately falling on Toby, sprawled on his back at the foot of the bed. The little guy was completely out, limbs stretched. With a blank face, he gently reached down and rubbed Toby's belly, eliciting a reflexive kick of his furry little leg. Wow, morning already? He whispered to himself. Turning his head to the right, he saw Jaida also asleep, her form angled towards him as if seeking his presence even in slumber. Carefully, Voyd swung his legs over the side of the bed, mindful of not disturbing her. He rose to his feet, moving with a surprising gentleness. He noticed her blanket had slipped off, pooling around her waist. Hesitantly, he reached out, snagged the edge of this blanket, and drew it up, stopping when it covered her shoulder. His eyes then drifted to her nightstand, taking in the collection of items arranged on its surface. A small lamp cast a soft glow. Next to it sat a half-empty water bottle, a stack of comic books, a medication bottle, and a framed photograph. Curiosity piked, and Voyd carefully lifted the frame. The picture revealed a younger Jaida, almost unrecognizable. Her hair was a vibrant natural red, and her eyes, usually warm and amber, were a stark white with red pupils. Standing behind her were undoubtedly her parents, a large, imposing man and a slender, elegant woman, all adorned in punk rock attire. Voyd gently placed the photo back in the nightstand, a flicker of questions dancing in his mind. He then glanced at the alarm clock. 6:45 a.m. Early, he whispered as he turned towards the door. With a few short steps, he slipped out of the room as quietly as he could, entering the hallway and making his way downstairs. He wanted to explore, to get a better feel for this place that had offered him sanctuary. He entered the combined kitchen and living room, his eyes sweeping over the lived space. A green carpet covered the floor, a coffee table set in front of a flat-screen TV. Holiday lights twinkled along the walls, and Halloween decorations adorned a touch of the season. Must be October here, he mused. He then noticed Jaida's friends were crashed out on the couches. But it was something else entirely that caught his attention. There, to his utter surprise, lay his armored gauntlets and shoulder pads. The blue paint, once chipped and worn, had been lovingly restored. What the? He whispered, kneeling down and picking up the pieces.
Psst! Voyd!
Jed's voice startled him. He looked up to see the helmet perched against the wall, its screen lit up with Jet's signature happy face. Even the helmet's blue markings had been repainted.
Voyd, check it out! Jaida's friends cleaned and repainted the armor.
Jed exclaimed, his digital enthusiasm practically overflowing. Voyd was speechless. Why? He managed to ask, running a hand over the refurbished armor.
They wanted to surprise you, to cheer you up. Seems like you beat them to the surprise.
Little wheels deployed beneath the helmet, and I rolled over the Voyd. To cheer me up? He asked, his soul flickered with disbelief. He allowed the helmet to reassimilate atop him, the device shifting and reforming into a small plate on the back of his neck.
They insisted. Aren't they just so nice?
Voyd couldn't help but smile, a genuine small smile. It felt unreal. All of this felt unreal. Slowly, he stood up and quietly made his way to the workshop. Passing through the entrance hall and into the garage, he took in the cluttered space. The tools scattered on a workbench, the half-finished projects in various states of disrepair, and the cluttered mess of parts on the floor. It kind of reminds me of Mr. Cogson's experiment shop back at the school. He would have loved this place. His gaze then landed on a photograph of Nock, a younger Nock with a full head of hair, standing next to what appeared to be a twin sister. Voyd paused, his mind racing. Nock didn't look that much younger, but how could someone lose that much hair in such a short period of time? It then dawned upon Voyd that the top of his head looked rather scarred, ever so slightly. Beside it were several other photos. Nock and Jaida, much younger. Nock looking to be around 6 or 7, while Jaida was just a toddler. Then there were photos of Nock, Kat, and Jamie from what looked to be high school. Then photos of family members Voyd didn't recognize. He then spotted what looked to be a recent photo, appearing to be Jaida's first day of high school, Nock having taken an awkward selfie with her at the front doors of a large building. Voyd repeated to himself. He then noticed a set of stairs leading down in the corner of the workshop. Curiosity tugged at him, and he approached, descending. He came across an old wooden door, one that he slowly opened. Upon doing so, he found himself in the basement. The space was filled with even more old junk and discarded parts, but something caught his eye. Faint light seeped in through small windows near the ground, creating a yellow glow in one area. There, bathed in the dim light, was an old grand piano, painted a faded purple shade. Voyd approached, standing before the worn wooden seat. Dangling from the piano's open lid was an orange guitar pick necklace, similar to Jaida's own. Looking behind himself and then back at the piano, Voyd gently sat down. He noticed some old, dusty music sheets already open on the stand. He hesitated for a moment, then reached out his hands, his fingers hovering over the keys. He pressed them down, one by one, the notes echoing softly in the quiet basement. Jaida's eyes snapped open. A faint, muffled sound tickled her ears, a melody that coaxed her into full wakefulness. She sat up slowly, her brow furrowed in confusion. The song was familiar, achingly so, though distant and barely audible. She glanced over at Voyd's empty bed, then at Toby, still sprawled on his back and snoring softly. A spark of curiosity ignited within her. She quietly pushed back the covers and slipped out of the bed. Like a child on Christmas morning, she crept towards the door, her bare feet padding silently on the wooden floor. She practically threw herself down the stairs, bypassing the still sleeping forms of her friends in the living room. She headed straight for the garage, the music growing stronger with each step. She paused at the entrance to the lower level, a chill snaking down her spine. It had been so long, so very long since... She took a deep breath and began her descent into the basement, each step measured and silent. Reaching the bottom, she peeked her head around the corner. There, bathed in the soft glow of barely seeping through morning light, sat Voyd, lost in the music. His fingers danced across the piano keys, weaving the familiar tunes with effortless grace. It was incredible, mesmerizing. "What?" Jaida whispered as she fully stepped into the basement. "You know how to play the piano?" Jaida blurted out, her voice a hushed whisper that broke the spell. Voyd's hand stilled instantly, and he turned his head, his blue eyes gleaming in the warm light. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I wake you?" he asked, his hands falling into his lap. Jaida clasped her hands behind her back, a soft smile gracing her lips. "Yeah, but you don't have to apologize. That music, it's been so long since I've heard it." She closed the door behind herself softly and approached him, her steps light and hesitant. "Where did you learn to play that well?" Voyd turned back to the piano, tracing his fingers across the keys. "Oh, I learned from my brother's girlfriend. Her name was Sika," he explained, glancing back at the sheet music. "She was the music teacher at the school I went to. When she used to babysit me when I was a lot younger, we passed the time by learning the piano. It's really all we would do from what I remember." A hint of fondness colored his voice. "It's been so long since I had the chance to play. Did it really sound that good?" Voyd asked with genuine curiosity, making Jaida rapidly nod her head. "Yes, please, keep playing," Jaida encouraged, standing behind him with her hands still clasped. Nodding, Voyd turned back to the instrument and continued the melody. A wave of nostalgia washed over Jaida, and she found herself singing along to the tune, her voice providing a gentle counterpoint to the piano's rhythm. Her voice, Voyd thought, was quite literally that of an angel. He played on, the music flowing through him. For the first time in a long time, he felt peaceful, free from the stress and worry, an overwhelming sense of ease settling over him. "I assume that this piano has some significance in your life," Voyd observed, his eyes flicking towards the orange necklace dangling above him. Jaida nodded gently, her gaze drifting away, lost in memories. How could you tell?" she replied sarcastically, then approached and sat beside him on the bench. "This piano belonged to my mom. When I was a kid, she would always play it to calm me down if I was scared or sad," she revealed with a deep fondness in her voice. "Before I was born, she played this very piano at her and my dad's wedding. This thing meant so much to them that they brought it home. Supposedly, my dad stole it and dragged it behind the classic Just Married cab, but I don't know if that's true or not." She finished with a giggle, a sound that drew a small, gentle laugh from Voyd. "I see. So if that's the case, why is it rotting downstairs if it holds such significance?" Voyd asked, his words causing Jaida's smile to fade, a shadow of sadness falling across her face. "Because my parents, they're not here anymore, Voyd." The spark paused his playing, turning to face her. It's been a couple years since we lost them. And the piano, it became a bit of a... Jaida trailed off. An open wound. Voyd finished, meeting her gaze. Yeah, you could say that. She agreed, their eyes lingering on the worn keys. But I can't deny that hearing the music she wrote after all this time without warning was rather pleasant, surprisingly. I didn't think it would make me feel this way. Jaida flipped the paper to a new song. It makes me feel happy. Oh, this one is my favorite, but it requires 2 people to play, Jaida said, pointing at the music sheet. It was a song both her and my dad wrote together, one that made them realize their love for one another. Hesitantly, Jaida placed her hands on the keys. Voyd, would you like to play this with me? Her tone was soft, almost shy. It's my favorite piece of theirs. A gentle smile spread across Voyd's face, and he nodded. He positioned his hands on the keys beside hers. I'd love to. Jaida's smile widened. Oh, okay. Follow after me. After a few breaths, Jaida began to play, with Voyd carefully mirroring her notes. The two worked in immediate harmony, weaving a tapestry of sound, their fingers dancing across the keys in unison. Their hearts beat to the rhythm of the music, their shared performance filling the basement with warmth and emotion. In that shared moment, their individual fears seemed to wash away, their worries dissolving like snow in the spring. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. As they reached the song's climax, Voyd's left hand and Jaida's right connected, their pinkies pressing down on the middle keys in simultaneous release. As their fingers touched, a small purple zap crackled between them, startling them both. They looked at each other, tentative smiles forming on their faces, and they laughed, a light, airy sound that broke the tension. It must have been some kind of static shock, Voyd said, rubbing the back of his neck bashfully. I guess. Jaida giggled and looked away, a hint of red coloring her cheeks. Voyd, thanks. I really needed to hear these again. Voyd nodded awkwardly. No problem. An awkward silence hung between them, broken only when Voyd looked up and pointed to the orange necklace. Say, why is this just here? Jaida perked up. Oh, that, well, it was, She thought on what she was about to say. Well, my family used to have this thing where we would make guitar pick necklaces. My mom and dad made this blue one for me. My dad had a red one, and my mom had a dark blue one. The orange one was... Jaida paused. It was my first attempt at making one. My mom thought it deserved to be in a special spot because of that. So, it became a little good luck charm for the piano. Voyd nodded in understanding. However, now that I think about it, Jaida said, reaching up and taking the necklace from the piano, I feel like this little thing needs a new home, a new place to give its luck. Can't do much for something that isn't used anymore, you know? She looked back at Voyd, a mischievous glint in her eyes. And I think I just found the spot. Before Voyd could react, Jaida draped the necklace around his neck. Boom! You, my friend, have now been given the good luck pick of Jaida Woods. She exclaimed, catching Voyd completely by surprise. Actually, orange looks quite good on you, Blue. Wouldn't you agree? Voyd paused. Was that a nickname I just heard? He asked, a weak but playful smirk tugging on his lips. Yep, it sure was, Jaida assured him. I guess you're right. Orange doesn't look half bad on me. Freckles. Voyd retorted, earning a peal of laughter from Jaida. Freckles? That's a good one. She composed herself, a genuine smile still gracing her features. You know what? You're a pretty cool dude, Voyd Novison. You want to go make those pancakes now? I'm starving. Voyd nodded, his own smile widening. I'd love some pancakes. Jaida grabbed his arm and started towards the stairs. Then let's wake up the girls and make a battery mess, she exclaimed, pulling him along. For the first time in a long time, Voyd felt a spark of genuine joy igniting within him, a feeling that transported him back to the carefree days of his childhood.